The survey ship Eternal Wisdom drifted silently through the dark space at the edge of an unknown solar system. Its sleek hull gleamed under the light of a medium-sized yellow star. Inside the ship, three-eyed creatures moved through corridors filled with blinking lights and soft humming sounds. Commander Zethka stood before a large screen showing the third planet from the star. The planet was mostly blue and green, with white clouds swirling around it. His long fingers tapped against the control panel as data flowed across smaller screens around him. "Interesting," he said to his crew. "This world has life, intelligent life." Science Officer Vralna stepped closer to examine the readings. Her forearms worked quickly over different controls. "The beings call themselves humans, Commander. They have built cities and machines, but their technology is very basic." Zethka's three eyes blinked in sequence. He had seen many worlds during his long career with the Galactic Hegemony Council. Most intelligent species they discovered were either too primitive to be useful or too advanced to be conquered easily. These humans seemed to fall into the first group. "Show me their space capabilities," he ordered. The main screen changed to display the outer areas of the human solar system. Small metal structures orbited the fourth planet, which was red and barren. Tiny ships moved between the structures, and several large rocks floating in space. "They mine asteroids for metals," Vralna reported. "They have also built a few small bases on their moon and on the fourth planet. But, Commander, they have no faster-than-light travel. They cannot even leave their own solar system." Zethka felt a wave of disappointment. The hegemony was always looking for new worlds to add to their empire. Worlds with useful resources and intelligent beings who could work for them. But these humans seemed too weak to be worth the effort. "What about their military?" he asked. Another officer, Kik Small, spoke up from his station. His voice was high and scratchy. "They have weapons, Commander, but nothing advanced. They use chemical explosions to propel metal projectiles. Some of their larger weapons use nuclear reactions. Very primitive." "Nuclear reactions?" Zethka was surprised. Most species learn to control atomic energy long before they reach space. "Are they using it for power generation too?" "Yes, Commander, but only in a basic way. They still burn organic materials and use wind and water for most of their energy needs." Zethka walked around the bridge, thinking. The humans were clearly not advanced enough to pose any threat to the hegemony, but their world looked rich with resources. The blue oceans suggested vast amounts of water. The green areas meant plant life that could be harvested. And any species that had learned to split atoms probably knew how to mine useful materials. "Begin deep scans," he ordered. "I want to know everything about their planet's resources." For the next several hours, the survey ship's powerful sensors examined Earth in detail. They found vast deposits of metals, oil, and other valuable materials. The oceans contained trillions of liters of water, a precious resource for many hegemony worlds. The planet's climate was stable and suitable for most species in the Council. "Commander," Vralna said excitedly, "this world could support millions of our citizens, and the humans have already done much of the basic infrastructure work for us." Zethka smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Indeed, they have built cities, roads, power systems. All we need to do is take control and improve what they have already created." He activated the communication system to contact the Council headquarters. The message would take several days to reach them, even traveling faster than light. But this discovery was important enough to report immediately. "This is Survey Ship Eternal Wisdom," he spoke into the recorder. "We have discovered a habitable world with significant resources and a primitive intelligent species. Designation, Sol 3, local name, Earth. Species designation, humans. Technology level, early atomic age, no FTL capability. Estimated military threat, minimal. Request permission to begin integration protocols." After sending the message, Zethka called his senior officers together in the meeting room. They sat around a circular table made of polished metal. The walls showed images of Earth and its moon. "Gentlemen," Zethka began, "this could be the most valuable discovery our ship has made. The Council will certainly approve integration. We should begin planning our approach." Vralna pulled up charts showing Earth's population centers. The humans live in large groups they call cities. Their biggest population centers are on the eastern and western sides of their largest continent masses. If we control these areas, we control most of their species. "What about resistance?" asked Kixmol. "Even primitive species sometimes fight back." Zethka laughed. "Look at their technology, Kixmol. They still use chemical rockets to reach space. Their most advanced weapons would barely scratch the paint on our ships. A single Council battlecruiser could disable their entire planet in a few hours." The other officers nodded in agreement. They had seen this pattern many times before. Primitive species always thought they were strong until they met the hegemony. Then they quickly learned their place in the galaxy. "The humans seem to value individual freedom," Vralna observed, reading through intercepted communications. "They have many different governments that often disagree with each other. This will make conquest easier. Divided species cannot organize effective resistance." "Perfect," Zethka said. "We will follow standard integration procedures. First contact, then negotiations, then integration by force, if necessary. Though I doubt these humans will be foolish enough to resist once they see our capabilities." The meeting ended with assignments for each officer. They would monitor human communications, study their military capabilities, and prepare detailed plans for the integration process. Everything seemed routine. 3 days later, a message arrived from Council headquarters. Zethka read it aloud to his crew. "Survey ship Eternal Wisdom. Integration approved for Sol 3 designation Earth. Priority level, standard. Expected resistance, minimal. Ambassador Thexali will arrive in 10 standard days to begin negotiations. Prepare standard integration package." "Well done, Commander Zethka." Another successful discovery for the hegemony. Another primitive world that would soon contribute to the Council's greatness. He had no way of knowing that he had just set in motion events that would change the galaxy forever. In the depths of space, the survey ship continued its watch over Earth, unaware that some species were more dangerous than their technology suggested. Ambassador Thexali stood in the airlock of his diplomatic vessel, checking his translation device one final time. The machine would convert his words into the primitive language these humans use. He found it amusing that such a simple species had developed so many different languages. Most civilized worlds used only one. His ship, the Harmonious Discourse, hung in space near the human orbital station they called Unity Platform. The station was a crude collection of metal cylinders and solar panels, nothing like the elegant structures the hegemony built. But it would serve for this simple negotiation. "Ambassador," his aide Krixna said through the communication system, "the humans are ready to receive you." Thexali straightened his formal robes and walked through the connecting tunnel into the human station. The gravity felt strange, heavier than most civilized worlds. The air smelled of metal and something organic he could not identify. Everything looked rough and hastily built. A human female waited for him in what appeared to be their main meeting room. She wore a dark blue uniform with metal symbols on it. Her hair was gray, and lines marked her face, signs of aging that proper medical technology should have prevented long ago. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, representing Earth's United Defense Council," she said, extending her hand in what his briefing materials had described as a handshake, a primitive greeting ritual. Thexali touched her hand briefly, finding the custom strange. "I am Ambassador Thexali of the Galactic Hegemony Council. I bring greetings from the civilized galaxy." Admiral Chen gestured to chairs around a simple metal table. Please, sit. We are honored by your visit. Fexali settled into the uncomfortable chair, noting how crude human furniture was compared to the adaptive biochairs used throughout the hegemony. He activated his translation device and began the standard integration speech he had given dozens of times before. Admiral Chen, I come to your world with wonderful news. The Galactic Hegemony Council has decided to extend membership to humanity. This is a great honor. Your species will join thousands of others in the greatest alliance the galaxy has ever known. Admiral Chen nodded politely. We are grateful for this opportunity. Could you tell us more about what membership involves? Fexali smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The humans always ask this question. The benefits are numerous. The hegemony will provide advanced technology, medical knowledge, and protection from hostile forces. Your species will have access to thousands of worlds and trade networks spanning the galaxy. And what would be expected of humanity in return? Very little, Fexali said smoothly. Simply integration into our administrative systems. The hegemony would establish governance centers on your world to help manage resources and population. Your people would contribute to the greater good through work assignments based on their abilities. Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment. Fexali had seen this reaction before. Primitive species were often overwhelmed by the generosity of the Council's offer. Ambassador, this is certainly a significant proposal. Would it be possible for humanity to have some time to consider these terms? Fexali felt a flicker of annoyance. Most species accepted immediately once they understood the benefits. But he had dealt with stubborn primitives before. Of course. How much time would you need? Perhaps 30 of our days? This decision affects our entire species. We would need to consult with all our governments and peoples. 30 days seemed excessive, but Fexali did not want to appear unreasonable. The Council could wait that long for such a resource-rich world. Very well, 30 days. After the meeting, Admiral Chen returned to the secure conference room, where Earth's most important leaders waited. General Martinez from the American Federation, Director Okafor from the African Union, Premier Zhang from the Asian Alliance, and a dozen other officials sat around a large screen. He's exactly what our intelligence suggested, Admiral Chen reported. Arrogant, confident, and completely convinced we're helpless primitives. They're not offering partnership. They're demanding surrender. Premier Zhang leaned forward. Did you get the sensor readings we needed? Everything. Dr. Patel's equipment recorded every energy signature from their ship. We now know how their engines work, how their shields function, and what frequencies their communications use. Director Okafor spoke next. What about their timeline? How long before they lose patience? Based on the ambassador's behavior, I estimate they'll wait about 30 days before taking action. Maybe less if we seem too uncooperative. General Martinez stood up and walked to a wall display showing the solar system. Then we need to make every hour count. How quickly can we implement Project Achilles? Admiral Chen activated the secure display. Charts and diagrams filled the air above the table. Dr. Yamamoto's team has already started. They're retrofitting every mining ship, cargo hauler, and construction vessel we have. The asteroid belt facilities are being converted to weapons production. What about their ship? Asked Premier Zhang. Are they monitoring our activities? They are, but they're not seeing what's really happening. To them, it looks like normal mining and construction activities. They have no idea that we're turning every piece of industrial equipment into weapons. Dr. Sarah Patel, Earth's leading physicist, joined the conversation by video link from Luna Base. Admiral, we've made incredible progress analyzing their technology. Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, plasma, lasers, particle beams. But they have a critical weakness. What weakness? General Martinez asked. Kinetic impact. Solid objects moving at high speed, Their shields can't handle physical mass traveling at significant velocity. It's like they've never encountered species that use projectile weapons. Admiral Chen smiled grimly. Then we'll show them what humans do best. We'll throw rocks at them. Very fast, very heavy rocks. Over the next week, frantic activity spread throughout the solar system. On Earth, factories that had been making consumer goods switched to producing ammunition and targeting systems. In the asteroid belt, mining charges designed to break up rocks were being networked into massive explosive grids. Cargo ships that had spent years hauling ore were being fitted with magnetic railguns. The weapons were crude by galactic standards, but they could accelerate chunks of refined metal to incredible speeds. What the aliens saw as primitive mining technology was being transformed into kinetic weapons more powerful than anything in their experience. Captain Torres, commander of the cargo vessel New Horizon, watched his crew install the last railgun mount on his ship. "Are you sure this will work, Admiral?" he asked during their video briefing. "Captain, we've run the calculations 100 times. Your ship can now fire a 1-ton tungsten projectile at 12% of light speed. The kinetic energy alone is equivalent to a nuclear weapon. And you're not the only one. We have 300 ships just like yours being converted." Meanwhile, Ambassador Thexali waited on his ship, growing more impatient each day. He sent daily reports to the Council, describing human deliberations and their predictable primitive behavior. He was confident the humans would accept the integration offer once they fully understood their position. "Ambassador," his aide Krixna reported, "we're detecting increased activity throughout the human solar system. More ships moving between their worlds, more mining operations in the asteroid belt." Thexali was unconcerned. Probably preparing for integration, many species increase their resource gathering when they know they'll soon be part of a larger economy. What he didn't realize was that every day of deliberation made humanity more dangerous. Every hour of preparation brought them closer to being ready for war. And every assumption the hegemony made about human primitiveness was about to be proven catastrophically wrong. As the days passed, Admiral Chen received regular updates from across the solar system. The transformation was ahead of schedule. Humanity was turning itself into a weapon, using the one advantage they had always possessed: the ability to adapt anything, anywhere, into whatever they needed to survive. The clock was ticking toward a war that one side thought would be easy, and the other side intended to make unforgettable. High Council Chamber buzzed with the sound of dozens of different alien voices. The great dome-shaped room held representatives from 47 different species, all members of the Galactic Hegemony Council. At the center of the chamber, Fleet Admiral Kextar stood before a massive holographic display showing Earth and its solar system. "Council members," Admiral Kextar began, his voice amplified throughout the chamber, "we have waited 28 standard days for these humans to accept our generous integration offer. They continue to delay with meaningless excuses about consulting their people and democratic processes." A low murmur of agreement rippled through the gathered representatives. Several species nodded their heads, while others made clicking sounds of approval. Counselor Veshmi from the Draknari Empire stood up. "Admiral, perhaps these humans need a demonstration of our power. Most primitive species accept integration quickly once they understand their position." "My thoughts exactly," Admiral Kextar replied. Ambassador Thexali reports that their military technology is laughably primitive. Chemical rockets, nuclear weapons, and projectile weapons that fire metal slugs. They pose no threat to our fleet. The holographic display changed to show images of human military equipment. The council members looked at the crude ships and simple weapons with amusement. "Their largest warship," Admiral Kextar continued, "masses barely 1/10 of our smallest cruiser. They have no shield technology, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light capability. A single battle group could disable their entire planet in a matter of hours. Counselor Threnal, from the Silicon Collective, raised a crystalline appendage. What about their population size? Large numbers sometimes compensate for technological inferiority. 8 billion individuals, Admiral Kekstar answered. Significant, but manageable. Most will comply once their governments surrender. Those who resist can be relocated to work colonies. Grand Counselor Zexnon, the eldest member of the council, spoke from his elevated platform. The humans have had sufficient time to consider our offer. If they are too primitive to recognize the benefits of integration, then we must proceed with standard conquest protocols. A chorus of approval echoed through the chamber. The council had conquered hundreds of worlds using the same process. Offer integration first, then take by force if necessary. It was efficient and usually resulted in minimal damage to valuable resources. Admiral Kekstar, Grand Counselor Zexnon continued, you are authorized to proceed with integration by force protocols. Deploy the 47th Battle Group to the Sol system. Secure the primary world and establish control. Resistance is to be crushed swiftly. Admiral Kekstar saluted formally. It will be done, Grand Counselor. 3 hours later, the 47th Battle Group assembled at the edge of hegemony space. 200 warships formed precise formations, battle cruisers, destroyers, support vessels, and troop transports. Each ship was a masterpiece of advanced technology, equipped with energy shields, plasma cannons, and engines that could cross vast distances in days. Captain Jermol commanded the flagship Inevitable Victory. He stood on the bridge, watching his fleet for the main view screen. Around him, his crew worked at control stations that responded to thought commands and holographic displays. Captain, his first officer reported, all ships report ready for jump to the target system. Estimated arrival time, 6 hours. Excellent, Captain Jermol replied. Have all ships prepare for immediate combat upon arrival. Intelligence suggests the humans may attempt some form of resistance. The weapons officer laughed. Sir, our shields can deflect any energy weapon these primitives might possess, and our plasma cannons can vaporize their crude metal ships from distances they cannot even reach. Captain Jermol nodded. He had fought in 17 integration campaigns over his long career. This would be one of the easier ones. Begin jump sequence, he ordered. Throughout the fleet, faster-than-light engines activated. Space twisted around the ships as they entered hyperspace, racing toward a solar system that had no idea it was about to become a battlefield. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen stood in the main command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Hundreds of technicians worked at monitoring stations, tracking every ship and weapon system in the solar system. Large screens showed the current status of Project Achilles. Admiral, Dr. Patel reported, we've detected massive hyperspace disturbances near the edge of our system. Multiple ships, very large. They'll be here in approximately 6 hours. Admiral Chen felt her heart rate increase, but her voice remained calm. How many ships? Initial readings suggest at least 200 vessels, much larger than anything in our fleet. Around the command center, other officials gathered to hear the report. General Martinez, Premier Zhang, Director Okafor, and dozens of others who had been preparing for this moment. Are our forces ready? Admiral Chen asked. General Martinez checked his display tablet. 312 converted cargo vessels are in position throughout the asteroid belt, each one armed with multiple railgun systems. Mining charges have been networked across 15 million cubic kilometers of space. All weapon systems are fully operational, Premier Zhang inquired. What about the orbital defense platforms around Earth? 47 converted space stations, each equipped with kinetic bombardment systems. They're hidden among our normal commercial satellites. Admiral Chen walked to the main tactical display. It showed their entire solar system, with thousands of small symbols representing converted ships, hidden weapons, and defensive positions. Remember, she addressed everyone in the room, our only advantage is surprise. They think we're primitives with simple weapons. We need to use that assumption against them. 6 hours later, the Hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Captain Jermal watched the tactical display as his ship spread into standard attack formation. Scan the system, he ordered. Locate all human military assets. Sir, the sensor officer reported after a few minutes. We're detecting approximately 300 human vessels scattered throughout their asteroid belt. They appear to be mining ships and cargo haulers. No obvious military vessels. Captain Jermal was pleased. The humans weren't even trying to defend themselves properly. What about their primary world? Multiple orbital platforms around Earth, sir. They look like communication satellites and space stations. No weapon signatures detected. Perfect. Signal the fleet. We advance on Earth directly. Ignore the mining ships for now. Once we control their homeworld, they'll surrender. As the Hegemony fleet moved deeper into the solar system, Admiral Chen watched their progress from her command center. The alien ships were magnificent, sleek, powerful, and completely confident in their superiority. All units, she broadcast on the encrypted command frequency. The enemy fleet is approaching as predicted. They are ignoring our converted ships and focusing on Earth. This is exactly what we hoped for. Throughout the asteroid belt, 300 converted cargo ships powered up their railgun systems. Each ship carrying crews of miners and engineers who had spent their lives breaking apart rocks. Now they were about to break apart something else. Admiral, Dr. Patel reported, their ships are generating massive energy signatures. Definitely shield technology, just as we predicted. High-energy deflector fields designed to disperse plasma and laser attacks. Admiral Chen smiled grimly. Too bad we're not using plasma and lasers. The alien fleet continued its advance toward Earth, completely unaware that they were flying into the most devastating trap in human history. In a few more hours, the Hegemony Council would learn that some primitives were far more dangerous than their technology suggested. And humanity would teach the galaxy a lesson about underestimating a species that had turned survival into an art form. Captain Jermal stood confidently on the bridge of inevitable victory as his fleet approached Earth. The blue and green planet grew larger on the main screen, looking peaceful and undefended. His tactical display showed 200 Hegemony warships in perfect formation, their energy shields glowing like protective bubbles around each vessel. Sir, the communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the human orbital station. Put it through, Captain Jermal ordered, expecting the usual surrender message that most primitive species sent when they saw a Hegemony fleet. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. She wore the same simple uniform from her meeting with the ambassador, but her expression was different now. Harder, more determined. Captain Jermal of the Hegemony fleet, she said, I am Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of Earth's defense forces. You have entered our solar system with hostile intent. This is your final warning. Turn around and leave immediately. Captain Jermal laughed, and several of his bridge crew joined in. Admiral Chen, you are speaking to the 47th Battle Group of the Galactic Hegemony. We have 200 warships equipped with technology beyond your comprehension. Surrender now, and your species will be treated fairly during integration. I see, Admiral Chen replied calmly. You're confident in your technology. Tell me, Captain, have you ever fought an enemy that didn't use energy weapons? Captain Jermal frowned. What a strange question. All civilized species use energy weapons, Admiral. Plasma cannons, laser arrays, particle beams. Your people will learn to use them too, once you join the Hegemony. I'm afraid we prefer a more direct approach, Admiral Chen said. Then she smiled, a cold expression that made Captain Jermal suddenly uncomfortable. Let us show you. The transmission ended. Captain Jermal stared at the blank screen, wondering what the human meant. Around him, his crew continued their preparations for the attack on Earth. "Sir," the weapons officer called out, "we're in optimal firing range of the planet, ready to begin orbital bombardment on your command." "Begin targeting their major population centers," Captain Jermal ordered. "We'll disable their infrastructure first." Then, alarms suddenly screamed throughout the bridge. Red warning lights flashed as the ship's defensive systems activated automatically. "Contact!" the sensor officer shouted. "Multiple objects approaching from the asteroid belt. Speed, 12% of light speed." Captain Jermal spun toward the tactical display. Hundreds of small objects were racing toward his fleet from every direction. But that was impossible. Nothing could accelerate to 12% of light speed except the most advanced hegemony weapons. "What are those objects?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. They're too small to be ships, too fast to be natural debris. Mass approximately 1 ton each. Composition appears to be refined tungsten." Before Captain Jermal could respond, the first wave of projectiles reached the outer edge of his fleet. The destroyer Swift Justice was hit by 3 tungsten slugs moving at 36,000 kilometers per second. The ship's energy shields, designed to deflect plasma and lasers, offered no resistance at all to solid matter moving at such incredible speed. The tungsten projectiles punched through the destroyer's hull like bullets through paper. The kinetic energy released by each impact was equivalent to a nuclear weapon. Swift Justice simply ceased to exist, vaporized in a flash of superheated metal and escaping atmosphere. "Shields are ineffective," the defensive systems officer reported in panic. "The projectiles are passing right through our energy barriers." More impacts struck the fleet. The cruiser Eternal Domination took 4 hits and broke apart like a child's toy. The battleship Glorious Conquest lost its entire forward section to a single tungsten slug that passed completely through the ship from bow to stern. "All ships," Captain Jermal broadcast to his fleet. "Evasive maneuvers. Focus shields on." Another alarm interrupted him. "Sir, we're detecting new contacts throughout the asteroid belt. Ships are powering up weapons systems." On the tactical display, 300 red dots appeared where there had been empty space moments before. What the hegemony had dismissed as harmless mining ships were now revealing their true nature. Captain Torres of the converted cargo ship New Horizon watched the alien fleet through his targeting scope. His railgun system was fully charged and ready to fire. Around him, his crew, all former asteroid miners, worked their controls with practiced efficiency. "Target acquired," his weapons officer reported. "Hegemony cruiser, bearing 27 Mark V. Range, 400,000 kilometers." "Fire," Captain Torres ordered. The railgun system activated with a sound like thunder. Electromagnetic fields accelerated a 1-ton tungsten projectile down a 2-kilometer barrel in less than a second. The slug emerged at exactly 12% of light speed, fast enough to cross the distance to its target in just over a second. Throughout the asteroid belt, similar scenes played out on hundreds of converted ships. Each vessel fired multiple tungsten projectiles at the hegemony fleet. The aliens had been so focused on Earth that they had completely ignored the asteroid belt, exactly as Admiral Chen had planned. "Direct hit!" Captain Torres's crew cheered as they watched the alien cruiser explode on their screens. "Target destroyed." The hegemony fleet was in chaos. Ships that had never faced kinetic weapons before had no defense against projectiles that simply ignored their energy shields. Captains who had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves helpless against weapons that seemed primitive but were devastatingly effective. "All ships retreat," Captain Jermal ordered, but even as he spoke, more tungsten slugs were racing toward his position. "Jump to hyperspace immediately." "Sir, we can't," the navigation officer reported. "Unknown energy fields are interfering with our jump drives." Dr. Patel smiled as she watched her handiwork from Luna Base. "Admiral," The hyperspace inhibitor field is working perfectly. I've been analyzing their FTL technology for weeks. They can't escape while the field is active. Throughout the solar system, the battle continued. But it wasn't really a battle. It was a massacre. The hegemony had expected to fight primitives with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. Instead, they faced an enemy that had turned their entire industrial infrastructure into kinetic weapons platforms. The converted mining ships fired continuously, their railguns sending streams of tungsten death toward the alien fleet. Each ship carried hundreds of projectiles, chunks of refined metal that had been sitting in asteroid processing facilities for years, waiting to be shipped to Earth. Now they served a different purpose. Captain Jermol watched helplessly as his fleet was torn apart around him. Ships that had taken years to build were destroyed in seconds by lumps of metal traveling at impossible speeds. His tactical display showed red symbols everywhere: damaged ships, destroyed vessels, emergency beacons from life pods. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender requests from 17 ships. They're requesting permission to abandon ship." "Granted," Captain Jermol said quietly. "All ships, abandon if necessary. Preserve what crew you can." But the humans weren't finished. As the surviving hegemony ships tried to flee deeper into the solar system, they discovered that Earth itself was armed. Hidden among the communication satellites and space stations were 47 converted orbital platforms, each equipped with kinetic bombardment systems. The platforms opened fire, with weapons that dropped tungsten rods toward the alien ships. The projectiles, accelerated by Earth's gravity and electromagnetic launchers, struck with devastating force. Even the massive hegemony battleships couldn't withstand the impacts. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display from her command center. Red symbols representing enemy ships were disappearing one by one. In less than 30 minutes, the mighty 47th Battle Group had been reduced to scattered debris and fleeing survivors. "Admiral," General Martinez reported, "enemy fleet strength down to 47 ships. Most are damaged and requesting permission to surrender." "Denied," Admiral Chen replied firmly. "They came here to conquer us. Let them explain to their council why that was a mistake." The hyperspace inhibitor field flickered and died, as Dr. Patel's equipment overloaded from continuous use. Immediately, the surviving hegemony ships began jumping to hyperspace, desperate to escape the system that had become their graveyard. Captain Jermol was among the last to escape. As his damaged ship prepared for the jump to hyperspace, he stared at the tactical display showing the destruction of his fleet. 200 ships had entered this system. Less than 50 would return home. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "Council headquarters is requesting a status report." Captain Jermol thought about how to explain what had happened. How could he tell the Council that a primitive species had destroyed their most powerful battle group, using weapons made from mining equipment and industrial materials? "Tell them," he said finally, "that we have encountered an enemy unlike anything in our databases. These humans don't fight like civilized species. They turn everything into a weapon." As the inevitable victory jumped to hyperspace, Captain Jermol realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. The hegemony had always been the predator, and other species had been prey. But humanity had just proven that sometimes the prey could be far more dangerous than the predator ever imagined. The emergency session of the Galactic Hegemony Council convened in chaos. Representatives from 47 species filled the Great Chamber, their voices creating a cacophony of fear, anger, and confusion. At the center, Fleet Admiral Kekstar stood before the holographic display showing the wreckage of the 47th Battle Group. Grand Counselor Zexnon struck his ceremonial staff against the floor, demanding silence. Admiral Kekstar explained to this council how a primitive species destroyed our most powerful battle group. Admiral Kekstar's normally confident posture was gone. His shoulders sagged as he faced the assembled representatives. Council members, the humans proved to be unlike any species we have previously encountered. Their entire civilization appears to be designed around warfare. Impossible, Councillor Veshmi interrupted. Our intelligence reports showed them to be peaceful traders and miners with primitive technology. That was the deception, Admiral Kekstar replied grimly. They were traders and miners, but they converted their entire industrial infrastructure into weapons systems. Every mining ship became a kinetic weapons platform. Every cargo hauler was armed with magnetic accelerators. Even their orbital stations were disguised weapon emplacements. The chamber erupted in worried voices. Several species had never heard of kinetic weapons being used on such a scale. The hegemony had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years using energy-based technology. The concept of throwing chunks of metal at incredible speeds seemed barbarically primitive, yet devastatingly effective. How many ships did we lose? Grand Councillor Zexnon asked quietly. 153 vessels destroyed completely. 29 severely damaged. Only 47 ships returned to hegemony space in fighting condition. Admiral Kekstar paused, letting the magnitude of the defeat sink in. We lost 76% of our force. The silence that followed was broken by Councillor Frenol of the Silicon Collective. How did their weapons penetrate our shield technology? Our shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, plasma, lasers, particle beams. They provide no protection against solid matter moving at significant velocity. The humans accelerated tungsten projectiles to 12% of light speed. At that velocity, kinetic energy alone was equivalent to our most powerful plasma cannons. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Admiral Chen stood in the main command center, watching the aftermath of the battle. Debris from destroyed alien ships drifted throughout the outer system. Recovery teams in converted mining vessels were collecting samples of hegemony technology for study. Admiral, Dr. Patel reported, "We've recovered intact examples of their shield generators, faster-than-light drives, and plasma weapon systems. This technology is centuries ahead of anything we've developed." "Can we adapt it to our needs?" Admiral Chen asked. "Absolutely. Within a year we could have FTL-capable warships. Within 5 years, we could have a fleet that rivals anything in the galaxy." General Martinez joined the conversation. "What about their surviving ships? Should we pursue them?" Admiral Chen thought for a moment. "No, General. We let them go for a reason. They need to return to their council and report what happened here. The galaxy needs to know that humanity is not to be underestimated." She activated the long-range communication system that Dr. Patel's team had built using captured alien technology. The message would reach every corner of the galaxy within days. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth's United Defense Council. To all members of the Galactic Hegemony Council, and any other species listening to this transmission. Your 47th Battle Group came to our solar system with the intention of conquering our world and enslaving our people. They have learned that humanity does not yield to threats." The message continued with detailed recordings of the battle, showing exactly how human ingenuity had turned mining equipment into devastating weapons. The recordings would spread throughout the galaxy, carried by trading vessels and communication networks. Back in the council chamber, Captain Jermol had been called to testify about his experiences during the battle. His report painted a terrifying picture of an enemy that thought differently than any species the hegemony had encountered. "Council members," Captain Jermol explained, "these humans don't build weapons like civilized species. They build tools and infrastructure that can become weapons when needed. Every cargo ship can become a kinetic artillery platform. Every mining operation can be converted to weapons production. Their entire society is adaptable in ways we never anticipated." Councillor Veshmi leaned forward. "Are you saying they're more dangerous than our intelligence suggested?" I'm saying they're more dangerous than any species we've ever encountered. They took equipment designed for peaceful purposes and turned it into weapons that destroyed our most advanced ships. If they can do that with mining tools, imagine what they could do with our technology. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The hegemony had always maintained control through technological superiority. But humanity had just proven that advanced technology could be defeated by creative thinking and adaptive engineering. Captain, Grand Counselor Zexnon asked, in your professional opinion, what would happen if we sent a larger fleet against these humans? Captain Germol considered the question carefully. Grand Counselor, they had 30 days to prepare for our attack, using only their existing infrastructure. If we give them months or years to study our technology and build proper warships, I believe they could threaten the entire hegemony. The council chamber erupted again. Species that had been part of the hegemony for centuries were suddenly questioning whether their protection was assured. If humans could destroy a battle group with mining equipment, what could they do with purpose-built warships? Admiral Chen's message had reached the outer territories of hegemony space. On dozens of worlds, species that had been conquered and integrated into the Council's empire heard about a species that had fought back successfully. For the first time in generations, some began to question whether the hegemony was truly invincible. On the trading world of Nexus Prime, merchants who carried news between star systems gathered to discuss the implications. Colven, a trader from the Marathi Consortium, addressed his colleagues. The humans have changed everything, he said. For thousands of years, the hegemony has been the dominant force in our galaxy because they had the best weapons. But these humans proved that better weapons aren't always enough. What does this mean for us? Asked Rilna, a merchant from the Outer Rim territories. It means the galaxy just became a more dangerous place for anyone who thinks conquest is easy. The humans have shown that a determined species can defend itself against overwhelming odds. Word of humanity's victory spread faster than the hegemony could contain it. Within weeks, species throughout the galaxy knew that the mighty council had been defeated by what they had called primitives. Some species saw it as hope. Others saw it as a threat to galactic stability. In the council chambers, emergency sessions continued for days. Military leaders debated whether to attempt another attack on Earth or to leave the humans alone. Scientists studied the tactical recordings, trying to understand how kinetic weapons had proven so effective against their technology. Finally, Grand Counselor Zexnon made the decision that would reshape galactic politics. Standing before the assembled council, he spoke words that had never been uttered in the history of the hegemony. Council members, after extensive deliberation, we have reached a conclusion regarding the human species. Effective immediately, Sol System and all human colonies are designated as prohibited space. No council vessel will approach within 50 light-years of human territory. Any contact with humanity is forbidden. Counselor Veshmi stood up. Grand Counselor, are we truly going to retreat from primitives? We are going to avoid a species that destroyed 76% of our 47th battle group using converted mining equipment. If we leave them alone, perhaps they will remain in their own territory. If we provoke them further, he gestured to the tactical display, still showing the wreckage of the fleet. They may decide to bring their war to us. The final council transmission to all member worlds was brief but unprecedented. Emergency classification update. Species, human. Home system, Sol. Threat level, extinction class. All vessels are advised, do not engage, do not contact, do not acknowledge. These beings are to be avoided at all costs. On Earth, Admiral Chen smiled as she read the intercepted hegemony transmission. Humanity had bought itself time. Time to study captured alien technology. Time to build proper warships. Time to prepare for whatever the galaxy might bring next. Admiral, General Martinez asked, what do we do now? Admiral Chen looked up at the stars, visible through the command center's reinforced windows. Somewhere out there, an entire galaxy had just learned to fear a species that had been dismissed as primitive. Now, General, we make sure that no one ever makes the mistake of threatening humanity again. The galaxy wanted to see what humans do when pushed to the wall. We showed them, and we made sure they'll never forget the lesson. The Council had declared war on humanity, believing it would be a simple conquest. Instead, they had awakened something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The age of easy conquest was over, and humanity had made sure everyone knew it.